Saturday, Blockbuster Underground. I'm actually wearing the attire today. The third jerseys they gave us way back at the very end. Back when it was still fun. Whatever. Anyhow, today what we're going to do, looks like Drinker has dropped another video. Something I've been bitching to my wife and my friends about too. I'm curious to see this one. Why movies are so expensive and how to fix it. Well, how to fix it. Let me see if I agree with what he thinks. So let's get cracking here. I got my trusty Labatt Blue beer on hand, and let's see what the Drinker is saying. Fire away.
If Godzilla Minus One taught us anything, it's that Eastern filmmakers are probably going to end up doing to movies what manga is currently doing to the US comic book industry. The kind of things that make even my most demanding sessions with Tatiana look like a playful cuddle and an early night in comparison. Partly this is because they haven't yet been infected by the postmodern nihilistic malaise that's slowly killing Hollywood, but mostly it's because they're able to produce big bombastic movies on par with anything we can make over here, only for a fraction of the price. And it got me to thinking, why? Why are movies so damn expensive now? What is it about our style of filmmaking that results in ludicrous budgets of $2, $3, or even $400 million? Well, with this video, I want to shed some light on the issue. I'm going to delve a little deeper into the reasons behind the problem, and maybe even make a few suggestions for how it might be corrected in future. So hold on to your wallets as I take you through the 5 reasons why modern movies are so expensive. 1. Actors. There's no getting around this. Actors are paid way too much these days.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm not talking about the day players and the jobbers who live paycheck to paycheck and have to struggle just to get by. I'm talking about the top level talent, the A-listers, the cream of the crop, the men and women who command such ridiculously overblown salaries that they actually push movie budgets to the point of failure, often with little or no justification, as it turns out. Take, for example, Jennifer Lawrence, the first female action star, first woman to discover fire, and the first intelligent life form on planet Earth, who was famously paid $20 million, about 15% of the film's total production budget, for a role in the movie Passengers, even though there was
the movie wasn't even that good.
That she was actually a box office draw. And no, I'm not going to count the Hunger Games in this because that was her breakout role, so she had no star power to exploit at the time. She was famous for sure, but she wasn't a box office draw, and that, my friend, is a very important distinction when you're writing paychecks. And it's not like this is a rare
their first runs, aren't they getting like
a
few hundred thousand
$30 million for his role in
Didn't Evans get like 300 grand for Captain America?
His prime as an action star and hadn't had a major hit in almost 10 years. In short, he was no longer a bankable box office draw, and yet he was still getting paid like one. It's even worse in the present day because, as other people have rightly pointed out, we don't even have movie stars now in the traditional sense. Yeah, we've still got plenty of famous actors with all their brand deals and magazine articles, but the days of Hollywood stars who could sell out movie theaters on their name alone are long gone. I mean, let's be real here, when was the last time you went to see a movie purely because of who was in it? And yet, even as the commercial power of actors declines, their salaries just keep increasing. Mid-tier comedy actors like Adam Sandler and Will Ferrell, who churn out low-effort dog-shit movies and haven't been commercially relevant in years, somehow still command $20 million paychecks. Even Daisy Ridley, who's done precisely fuck all since Star Wars and practically vanished into obscurity, is being paid $12 million to reprise her role as Rey. Yeah, money well spent there, lads. Nice one. And then there's The Rock, everyone's favourite lovable boulder who makes insane amounts of money for being in films that nobody can ever remember, who's apparently getting paid $50 million for his role in the upcoming movie Red 1. That is fucking absurd. You could literally make an entire mid-budget movie from his salary alone. There is no way that any actor can possibly be worth that much to a project.
You can make 3 or 4 Godzillas for that much. Jesus Christ.
It's everything that comes along with them. The biggest stars will usually bring along a whole retinue of stylists, personal trainers, personal assistants, personal chefs, life coaches, publicists, and various other hangers-on, all of which have to be fed, housed, and paid, usually out of the production budget.
And they're probably
of
all
this stuff
buddies
adds
of
up to
the
one
star.
simple fact. Most actors are grossly overpaid for what they actually bring to a project, and their bloated salaries contribute to the spiraling cost of most big budget Hollywood films. The only way you could realistically fix this is either put a cap on salaries or a massive reduction in upfront payments in favour of back-end deals, both of which would require a massive overhaul of the entire Hollywood system.
Yeah, no one would go for that.
Production bloat. If you've ever worked at a big company for any length of time, you'll probably have noticed how much waste and inefficiency there is. Bizarre and nonsensical processes that do nothing but create logjams, pointless job titles that are no longer needed, people that have been around for so long that nobody really understands what they even do anymore. It's the kind of stuff that happens in a large and complex organisation, and it's much the same with Hollywood movies. Like, how many times have you seen a film with a list of producers, executive producers, and special consultants a mile long and thought to yourself, what the fuck did all these people actually do? The answer most of the time is absolutely nothing. The thing is, big movie projects are a kind of mutually
They may have suggested a plot point in an
relationship.
elevator
People
ride.
generally want to be attached to them because it brings prestige and attention and allows them
Or
to
they're
pad
just
out
ponying
their
up the
resume
money
make
to
it
get the
look like
credit
they've done way more
to make it
stuff
look like
than they
they're cool.
actually have. On the flip side, having the right name attached to your project can give it the clout it needs to get extra funding, better marketing, and bigger actors attached.
True.
Either way, all of these people command salaries regardless of how much work they actually do, and a lot of them can be pretty fucking expensive. And that's not even counting all the pointless made-up positions that have cropped up in recent years. I wonder how many movies have been improved
second
by the
assistant
presence
to
of
the
intimacy
assistant?
coordinators, sensitivity readers, on-site therapists, or
What?
diversity and inclusion consultants. But there they are anyway, and they all cost money. Lots of money. It's too much bullshit, too many layers of management, too many pointless people doing nothing useful, and it all adds up to a shocking waste of time, money, and resources. 3. Too much CGI. Again, you don't need me to tell you that modern movies have begun to rely on visual
God, yes.
spectacle over character and story, and that usually means CGI, a lot of it. And the reality is that CGI is expensive as fuck these days, especially because most effects houses are in high demand, so they can basically charge whatever they want.
And pay
A good
their
example
employees
of this
fuck
would
all.
be the Indiana Jones series. Raiders of the Lost Ark was filled with action, adventure, and spectacle, and it definitely resorted to visual effects when it had to, but
The
for the
budget
most
was
part,
what,
it used
6
models,
million or no,
pyrotechnics,
30?
stuntmen, and real locations for its
I forget.
filming. The result? It
Wasn't
came in
high.
at a budget of just $20 million.
There you go.
That's about $67 million in today's money. Dial of
Still.
Destiny, on the other hand, made extensive use of CGI, just like everything else these days, and combined with all the other factors we've already mentioned, plus a few more we haven't, the production budget ballooned to well over $300 million. That's almost 5 times larger than Raiders, even adjusted for inflation. And did it result in a movie that's 5 times as good?
Fuck no.
Alright, you decide.
Exactly.
Number 4, bad writing. As the fine people at Film Threat have done an excellent job of exposing in recent weeks, the current thinking in Hollywood circles is that old, pale, and male is stale, especially in the writer's room, and the only way to fix the problem is to force them out and replace them with a new crop of younger and more diverse writers. Which is great as far as
who
I'm
have no life
concerned,
experience
because
at
I
all.
like nothing more than seeing a whole group of people have opportunities and resources arbitrarily taken away from them and given to a completely different group that someone somewhere decided were far more deserving. It does create a bit of a problem though, because no matter how many boxes these new writers tick, the one that they keep missing out on is experience. For example, it's easy enough to write a big elaborate fight and chase sequence through a crowded city, but an experienced screenwriter would understand that something like that is going to be hugely expensive and time-consuming to actually shoot. They tailor their scripts based on years of experience of what can actually be done with the production budget available. New writers don't have that kind of experience though, and so they tend to write stuff that's far beyond the scope of what can actually be delivered.
Well, yeah, plus the
other big
budgets
issue
are,
with people like
you
that
said,
is
they're
that,
fucking
well,
massive.
a lot of the time they're just not very good at what they do. They don't know how to put together smart, complex, logically consistent stories populated by compelling characters, interesting dialogue, and meaningful arcs. This low-quality writing has
Like
the
filmed in
knock-on
the
effect
70s?
of poor test screenings, which in turn gives rise to... Number 5, reshoots.
Oh,
Reshoots
God.
are the fucking bane of modern filmmaking. Yeah, I know it's always been a thing to some extent, and I know movies like Superman 2 and Back to the Future had pretty major reshoots, but they were very much the exception to the rule back then. Nowadays, major reshoots
Well, they
are
were more
practically
often
expected,
pickups
because when there's hundreds of
in the
millions of
past.
dollars on the line, who wants to take a chance on releasing a movie that tested badly with audiences? Justice League, Suicide Squad, Dial of Destiny,
Yeah,
The
they do
Flash,
pickup
and the
shots in
Marvels
old
all had
times in
massive
movies where they
reshoots,
go back
mostly
and
because of appalling
the
test
director
screenings
wanted
and
a
panic
certain
in
angle or something
studios.
like that,
And the
so
real
they'd
problem
shoot it
here
again.
is
But
that reshoots basically replicate all of the other
what we're
problems
talking
that
about
were
here
already
is like
stacking up.
gouging
Because now
entire
you're going to
chunks
have
of
to
the
hire
film
even
and
more
redoing it from
shitty writers to
scratch
try
because
and fix the
it's fucking
problems
garbage,
created by the previous
like
shitty
Daredevil.
writers. And all that new work is going to have to be checked over by sensitivity readers and the diversity and inclusion consultants to make sure it adheres to the message. Then you have to recall all those expensive actors with their expensive assistants and work with the intimacy coordinators and the on-site therapists to make sure
Jesus.
nobody gets too stressed by the whole thing. Then you have
Sounds
to
like a
bring back
fucking
overworked
migraine.
and expensive visual effects companies to do more CGI to try to cover up the massive cracks in your screenplay. And you have to answer to all the extra producers and the executive producers and the creative consultants who all want to know why you're not returning their calls anymore. Add all of these different factors together, and it's no fucking wonder that movies are so expensive and difficult to make now. The whole industry's become so bloated and inefficient, so overstuffed with expensive and unqualified people, so dependent on spectacle and superficiality, that they've basically priced themselves right out of their own market. A $300 or $400 million movie needs the best part of $1 billion just to break even, and as last year showed us, fewer and fewer movies are capable of reaching that milestone. So what's the solution, you might ask? Don't just complain about the problem, drinker my good man. Show us a way out of it. How can Hollywood studios dig their way out of the financial hole that they've created for themselves? Well, the first thing they need to do is start trimming the fat. Cut down on the number of pointless job roles on set. The intimacy coordinators and the sensitivity readers. The unnecessary producers and overseers who do nothing but clog up production. Stop relying so much on overblown CGI to carry a weak script. And bring back practical effects and location shooting. Recognize that actors no longer sell movie tickets simply by existing and pay them accordingly. Because if everyone does it, then they've got no choice but to accept it. Sorry, Dwayne, you're going to have to put that third private jet on hold for now. Also, bring back solid, quality, mid-budget movies that can be made for less than $100 million, because you can make 3 of them for every bloated wannabe mega blockbuster that's churned out. That means 3 times as many chances to have a smash hit, which in turn means less risk with individual projects, which results in less studio interference and more opportunities for creativity and innovation. It also allows you to avoid the dreaded pitfall of the safe, generic Omni film that has to try to appeal to absolutely everyone because it's the only hope of making back its ridiculous budget, but in reality ends up satisfying no one. With cheaper films, you can afford to target a specific audience and actually appeal to them. And for fuck's sake, start hiring competent and experienced writers again who can actually deliver good scripts instead of relying on a bunch of meaningless checkboxes that have been promoted into positions they're totally not qualified for, who are going to deliver substandard work that will require a ton of expensive reshoots to fix. Do these things and you might just find that making movies can be easier, more cost effective and more profitable than you imagined. Or on the other hand, feel free to ignore me
your
and carry
wildest
on shitting out
imaginations.
$300 million turds that nobody watches until the money eventually runs out and your whole industry falls apart around you. The choice, as they say, is yours. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
Yeah, very well put. I agree with a lot of what he says. 100%. Actors are paid way too fucking much. Like, come on. Like I mentioned earlier, like, same with sports players. Shohei Ohtani signed like a, $80 billion deal with the Dodgers. Like, I don't know. Back end profits is one thing. To sign a deal where you get, contract rate is this, and then you'll get a percentage of, whatever the movie makes box office wise. It's always a crapshoot. Jack Nicholson did it to great effect for the '89 Batman. Alec Guinness in '77 had a percentage cut of the grosses for Star Wars and made more money from that film than every other film in his entire career combined. So it is doable. They definitely need to cut, like you said, cut the fat. Sensitivity fucking trainers on set? Come on. You need a producer on set, the writer on set, the director of photography, somebody running the cameras, somebody running the lights, somebody running the sound. It's not a necessity to have, unless, like, fucking, like, Lawrence of Arabia scale epic movie. Again, the CGI thing that Drinker talked about, Lawrence of Arabia didn't use any CGI. That was all live in camera. Raiders, like you mentioned, minuscule budget, almost everything live action, in the camera, on the set, real time, and you know, and the writing, like Drinker said, you know, where are the days where you get scenes like Heat, for a more recent example, the scene with De Niro and Pacino sitting across the diner table at each other. Like, writers these days, they're so wrapped up in their own shit, and a lot of them are so fucking young. Like he said, no experience. I mean, you've got to have like lived a bit, like experienced life to be able to portray it or write about it in a realistic and way that actually doesn't have to be cornered into like, oh, it can't offend this group, it can't offend that group. We got to watch out. We can't do anything bad for them. So you basically are sitting there and just like scratching out 2/3 of your script. I mean, what the fuck can you do? I mean, you look at movies in the 70s that were made that could never be made today. Blazing Saddles. Could you imagine anybody trying to put that on screen today? More recent example, Tropic Thunder. I remember seeing a clip where Downey was on the Joe Rogan show, and Rogan asked him, he's like, could you make that movie again today? And he's like, Downey's reply was like, you could, but should you? I mean, it's a mess in Hollywood right now. The writers' strike and the Screen Actors Guild strike really didn't help things because basically everything's been pushed now to next year. There's, I mean, a handful of movies coming out this year which better be making a lot of money, or we could be seeing another scare where the movie theaters could be the next ones to go Blockbuster video style. Hopefully that doesn't happen, but obviously Hollywood's got to do something. Salaries have got to be more realistic. 50 million for the, like, come on, man. Fucking Godzilla movie cost like, what was it, 20? 25 million. Well, 25 million bucks for an episode of She-Hulk. 2 episodes of She-Hulk is worth The Rock's salary for that movie. Huh? Oh wow. They got to do something. That's all I know. There's got to be some middle ground. Like the last movie I saw in theaters, honestly, guys, was Indiana Jones and the Dial of Douchery. Like, check my review. You'll see how that went. That's part of the reason why I'm not going anymore, because they're churning out shite. And like, why would I bother taking the time to drive to the theater and, you know, pay the whatever it is now, fucking, it was like $20 or something for Indy. I went and saw Mission Impossible in Vancouver in D-Box. It was $26.95 just for the fucking seat. And then a bag of popcorn was like $4. So that was worth it, though. That was a cool experience with the D-Box, if you ever get a chance. But I'm getting way off topic here. Anyway, another amazing video by The Drinker. If you haven't checked out his channel, do so. I highly recommend it. I am going to sign off here because I smell bacon cooking upstairs, which means it's almost BLT time. And we will catch you on the next video. Just pass the word around, subscribe, and like, and comment below what you think, why movies are so expensive, what you think would be the fix. And we'll talk to you in the next video. All right, bye for now.